Hey, welcome back. It's been a while. I haven't put up a video in a week and a half now. I wanted to get on and give an update of where we are with the van. We've been working on the van. I had a 3-day weekend last weekend. Was intermingled with some other commitments we had to do, but we did get some work done in the van. It was good weather weekend. I have another 3-day weekend coming up this weekend, and it looks like we're going to have good weather. So we did video a couple of things that while we were working on them. We put the floor in and got the benches and dealt with the inset walls, and how we're going to take that on. But and we did run the video while we were doing it, but I wanted to just take this time and give you an update on it, because as I've explained before, it kind of gets tough videoing and doing the work at the same time. So we're halfway through June. We wanted to be done this a couple of weeks ago. Weather hasn't exactly cooperated. Work schedules have been quite busy, and we just wanted to get the work done. So what I'm hoping to do tonight is it's Wednesday night, and I want to just give an update of where we are, what we've done, and how we did some of the things we had been talking about. And hopefully we'll get some more videos up this weekend on some of the cabinetry work. We've begun some of the work on the carcasses of the base cabinet. So let me take you on a little tour of where we're at so far and the things we've done since the last time we checked in. So as you can see, we'll start up at the ceiling. We've pretty much finished the cedar tongue and groove on the ceiling, have all our lights installed, everything's in. We did put the trim up in a previous video. You saw where I was talking about putting backer boards up here to deal with the bowing. All this was flattened out, and the trim fit really nice up in there, and we're bolted in, and everything's good to go there. In the back, we did put the second floor back in, and it's now permanently mounted, and the supports are down there. We talked in the past, there are three areas for garages down there. The center will end up pulling out, and the two on the sides will end up being drawers that go out towards the back. But let's take a look at the benches and some of the insets that we had been talking about before. So the benches are in, and the benches don't come all the way back, so this will act as a second step to get up to this when it's in bed mode. We did not put the table in. The table will be one of the last things to go in, and the table will drop down, and this will be all a flat bed mode. We did make the lids for the benches and put them on hinges, so we have our storage. I see my wife has been going to the store buying some blackout curtains and so forth and sticking them in the cabinets. She did put some felt on the cabinets so that they don't rattle. They have a nice quiet close to them, and this all needs to get painted as well. But let's take a look at what we did with the inserts. To create the inserts, I put a piece of 2x3 on the back of the bench, and that gave me my distance back from the back edge of the bench to the back edge of the other side is exactly 69 inches. But I'm 5'11", so I needed that 71 inches. So what we did is we took a 2x3 on either side, so that we have one here that's 1.5 inches this way, and on this side we have another 1.5 inches this way, which gave us the 71 inches we needed, actually a little more. And then on the back of that, I mounted these pieces of 1/2-inch ply, screwed them in the back, glued them down on this, and then installed the bench as one unit, and then bolted it into the second floor. To give us the top, what we did is I mounted this 1/2-inch piece of plywood down the length and then overhung it. Actually, I overhung it a little too far, and then my wife said, when we actually put the cushion in here, you're only going to have this tiny little inset. So I ended up cutting a strip off of this to give us, it's about 14 inches there. And underneath, back behind here, I mounted in blocks of wood where we'll put some 1/4 inch covering there, maybe some accent lights coming down, and then we'll put some kind of backing here. I don't know, we talked about doing the tongue and groove. I don't know if we'll do tongue and groove. We actually saw a pretty cool piece of old wood paneling at Lowe's that really looked like it would fit nice. It was old barnwood look, and it would just seem like it might be a nice contrast against the cedar tongue and groove rather than just doing cedar everywhere. So we would just put that in one sheet, paint all this up, and then this would all get covered with, we'd have, you know, cushions here, cushion on the backrest. This piece here, because it's solid, gives you, you know, your shoulders land right here when you're on these benches, so that gives you a nice backrest, and your cushion will sit in here, so it'll give you a good postural backrest there. So the structure for the insets is complete, and that's been taken care of. On the floor, we installed a like a Pergo tongue and groove. This is a commercial grade vinyl and rubber flooring, and here's a piece of it here. So it's just kind of tongue and groove. It looks, you know, it looks like your standard Pergo floor you would put in. But the nice thing about this is it doesn't expand or contract. It just stays the same space or the same size, and is not susceptible to humidity. But it also gives you, you know, a nice. It's waterproof. It's, you know, we can mop it off, sweep it out, and it makes it actually a really nice look. And because it's an adventure van, and we did the cedar tongue and groove for the ceiling to give it like a cabin look, we thought, well, we're going to be going to the beach too, so let's get that beachy driftwood, light, you know, faded wood look for the floor. And I think it came out to a really nice contrast. You can see where we've started to put the lines in for the base cabinets. We've got those all measured in, and the carcass for this one actually we built over the weekend, and that's sitting downstairs. And actually in a little while here, as soon as I'm done videoing this, my wife and I are going to kind of test fit it in here and see how that sits. So we have the floor in, and you can see we started to put the floor in underneath, but we got to thinking, well, that's actually going to be the garage. So what we may do is cut the flooring straight across here, and because this here is going to get a plywood face, so you won't be able to see in there from within the van. So we were kind of questioning whether we really needed to, you know, spend the money, number one, for more flooring to do back there, but I think more importantly, spend the weight. This flooring actually is really heavy. So, you know, this piece, it's far heavier than a piece of Pergo you would put in your house, and each box of that from Lowe's, we weighed it. And they're like 40 pounds. I think there were 38 pounds a piece for each box, and we've put, currently we have 3 boxes in here. So it certainly added some weight to the van, but it was a low weight, a nice low center of gravity. So, you know, and when I took it out for a drive, you can feel it's interesting, because each piece of weight, each section of weight you put in, you take it out for a drive, you can feel the difference, but there's no added sway because we're not adding the weight up to the top. And actually all of the weight up higher, except for the table, we're kind of done adding weight on the top of the van. There won't be any cabinets back here, as we talked about in a previous video. That will just be the tongue and groove on the sides here, and then our cabinets will start here and then run forward up top on this side, and then on this side we'll have some cabinetry up here. So that will be the only weight that will be up high. At some point we'll put a rack up on the top. There won't be solar panels up there, maybe a shower or something like that. But so my goal was to keep a lot of the weight off the top of the van and keep any weight we're putting in low center of gravity. And currently, you know, from my estimate calculations, I haven't gone to a scale yet, but if I add up all of the wood, we're using 3/4 inch birch plywood for all of our flooring, and I did, you know, the math on that, and that comes out to, I think it's 2.12 pounds per square foot of flooring, of wood, 3/4 inch wood we're using. So I did the math on that, and I did the math with the, you know, added in the weight of the flooring, added in the weight of the refrigerator and the drawer we have and the battery, and, you know, adding it all together, We're currently sitting at about 6,700 pounds for the van, and it's a it's a 350, so it's rated for 10,000 pounds. So we still have plenty of weight to go. I certainly don't plan on taking it all the way up to the top, but I also don't want to, I want to be able to put what we want in here, but I still want it to drive really nice without just beating the van into the ground with weight. So flooring, we've got the benches in, the second floor is in, and we're working on the base cabinets this weekend and at night this week, and trying to get the van to somewhat of a substantial completion. So there's one other thing I do want to show you that we did on the van. Get out of there, bug. I don't know if you noticed in previous videos, but when we cut the original 3/4 inch flooring, we cut it here and we kind of overshot with our template, and we were kind of back into here, and it was almost curved. And I wanted to fix that when we actually put the finished flooring in, and I wanted it to be nice and flush with the once I put the original step back in the van. So I actually found the piece of original plywood that we had cut out, and I measured it and meticulously got it and had to shape it just a hair to get it to fit exact. Glued it, screwed it, and I have a couple of pocket holes drilled into it here that are clamping it into the base floor. Clamped it all, and then if you look down below here, I took another piece of 1/4 inch because the floor had a little bit of give to it, so I wanted to make sure that we had a support here. So I took this piece of 1/4 inch, it's actually 1/4 inch poplar, and it's like 2 inches wide. It's a 1/4 inch by 2 inch wide piece, and I sanded with a belt sander. I sanded it into a wedge. So what I did was I wedged this in. I put a nice coating of glue on it, wedged this in up against the wood and into the 1 inch styrofoam we have below, and then this acts as a nice support for it. And then once we put the composite floor on top of it, and you can kind of see the layers that are in that composite flooring. So we have vinyl up on the top, there's a plastic in the center of it, and then on the bottom of it is a nice rubber. So it's actually a pretty solid piece. So when I laid the floor, I started at this end, went that direction, so that I could have a full piece here. So this first piece is cut short. That way I could have a full piece on this one, and it acts as a nice buffer and actually an added support. And I think it came out really nice at the end of the day. You have a nice clean look for the step. And this piece here, this is actually the leg off of an old IKEA table that we reclaimed, and then it's not screwed in the bottom, but it's screwed and glued into the floor, so it acts as like a nice support. If you're ever out on this end of it, it kind of holds that up, and we can use that for flip-flops or something like that, or wet shoes, just shove them back in there. So I wanted to make sure I showed you that too. And one last thing I will say that we did have done this week, we had the side window and the 2 rear windows tinted, and they're a tinted, what they call, I believe, I'm not a tinting expert, but they kind of refer to it as a number 5 tint. So you can't see in, like if you get right up to this tint and put your hands up, you can see shadows and shapes in here, and that's about all you can see. But as you can see, we can see out. So on the side window, this all used to be clear glass, and now you can see, it's about 7 o'clock here in the evening, and you can, I can still see out, and that's what the glass used to look like. That's the side window. So it used to be perfectly clear. The world can see in here, and we had made covers for the windows, and honestly, I don't know really that we'll need the covers now, except perhaps maybe for some insulation down the road. The only piece I notice is, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, there's a tiny little bubble here and a tiny little bubble there, but other than that, they did a really nice job, and that, I think that cost us like $140 to have done. So it was actually well worth it. We dropped it off in the morning, they had it done by lunch, and we went and picked it up. So it was a quick job there. And the two rear windows are absolutely perfect. So wanted to kind of show you that as well. So those are the updates that we've worked on with the van for the last week and a half since the last video I put out. And as I said, it's just been a really busy couple of weeks. If you recall back to the last video, I rarely get sick, but I really got a pretty nasty cold and was not doing well for a couple of weeks. Today actually is probably one of the first days I feel I'm 100% back. So I have every Friday off through June I have taken, so I have 3-day weekends through the rest of this month to really knock this out and get this van to a point where we can start using it, because I just really don't want the summer to go by and we don't get a chance to ever use it and spend every weekend doing nothing but working on the van. It's fun, it's a passion, it's a process, but at the same time I really want to use it. We have signed up for the Asheville Van Rally. We will be there in September, and so we're pretty excited about that. We really want to have it looking nice and ready for that. And that's really what I have for an update for you today. It's June 13th. It's a Wednesday night. And until next time, this is Ken. Peace. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like the content we're putting out. Consider sharing the video. And until the next video, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.